Welcome to the Six-Figure Author Experiment, where we help you break through your first or next $100,000 goal. Parental discretion is advised. Now, let's get on with the show.
Hello, everybody. Hi, Monica. Hi, Lee. Hi, all of the people for our first live episode. Yay!
Yay! Happy book birthday, Russell.
Thank you. My book baby is at the same time 1 year old and like 5 years old because it did come out on. No, not this one. Nope, this one is 1 day old. The series came out in 2019. A couple of the books, but not this one. It's fresh to Amazon. So we are here to talk about it. Hi, Monica.
Hello. How's it going, everyone?
We're joined.
I'm excited to talk about this.
I'm very excited because you have like Lee and I are recording like I feel like constantly now, but like Monica, you haven't recorded with us for a while, so this is going to be all new to you information.
Yes, it's fairly new.
You can be, what do they call it, a listener surrogate if there's anyone else that doesn't have questions. Yeah, well, let's get to it. Lee, do you want to do questions first? Do you have anything else before we just hop into it? Because there's a lot of them.
There's a lot of questions. So let's just jump right in. And as an overview, if you're listening to the recording and you have no idea what's going on, Russell just launched book 1 of an 11, soon to be 12 book series, which he wrote and has launched before on a direct sales store. And we'll keep that direct sales store up. And Monica advised him on like pre-order timing, putting these books up on different retailers, such as Amazon. And now it's finally live on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all the places.
You make a good point. Maybe I should give like a where are we now for some of these people who are not going to know where we are.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a series called the Godsverse Chronicles. Back in 2017, I met with my friend Nora Flight at a conference, and she's like, you can make like a lot of money with fiction books. And I was like, no, everyone doing that like is doing coaching. And she spun around her thing, and it's like, I made $100,000 this month. And I was like, oh, well, like I've never actually seen somebody who did that before. So like now I know it's possible. Now I have to just do it and figure all this stuff out. So I started writing this series, and I decided to write 4 3-book novellas in 4 different series. It was a mess. Anyway, I figured all this stuff out, and I put them on Kickstarter on retailers. So the book 5 of this series is called Death. It's 3 different stories, novellas, and I combined them in one, but they came out singularly, 1, 2, 3, and then the first one broke even, and the second and third one lost me so much money. And then I did that with another series, and that one didn't even make like 10 pre-order book sales. And it just got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. I was not on meds at the time, so I started doom spiraling, and I just stopped releasing books after releasing what became Death and Doom, but were then called, these are such bad names, so I'm going to do it. Like the names were Katrina Hates the World, Katrina Hates the Gods, Katrina Hates the Universe. And then it was, the ones out for Doom were better. They were Every Planet Has a God's Church, not very good because they're like, but still better. There's Every Reason to Fear, and The End Tastes Like Pancakes. And those are not very good titles for sci-fi novels. Shockingly, didn't do very well. And so I pulled everything back, and I decided to launch them as 4 books on Kickstarter in January of 2020, and it literally changed my whole career around. If you've been in our community for any length of time, you might know, you probably heard this story, but that those 4 books raised 10 grand. Then I made enough to do the 5th book, which ended up being called Conquest, and that led to 2 more books that I launched again and made another like 11 grand. I was like, wow, you can launch books on Kickstarter like consistently. And I started doing that all the time. But the problem is book 5 is a very weird book. It starts in the apocalypse and ends 10,000 years in the future. And I was like, I can't, like, this is not a series. This is not a thing. Like, no one's going to buy this on Amazon. So I went and I said, okay, assuming this is the book 5, how can I backfill this so it feels like book 5 is the inevitable endpoint of however many books they have to write? And I ended up writing 4 additional books: Magic, Evil, Time, and Heaven,
Evan.
which then previously had a different name. But we went through all that garbage. I launched them. I got new covers, and then I was like, it'd be really interesting if like I just live launched this in a podcast. And I asked a bunch of people about it. And Lee, finally at our conference earlier this year, was like, that is a dumb but brilliant idea. I kind of had the same thing. You were like, I'm going to pull down a whole series, and I was going to do this myself, so this is better, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it was dumb. It was like, it would be dumb for me to like launch a new pen name. Like, no, don't do that. Don't, So yeah, when you came to me and said, I have all these books and they're not up on retailers, I was crying. I was like, why?
Then I told her I have a whole nother series that's also up on retailers, and she's like, what?
Yeah.
And it's like, I have a whole third series with 5 books that aren't on retail, and she's like, this is too much. I'm done.
I think long story short, you can relaunch. Like you're launching and relaunching, but go ahead, Monica.
Well, what I was going to say is like the other series are, in my opinion, like written more the market too. So I think that this is a good series to test things on, because as those other series come out, you can kind of stack them a little bit more.
Yeah, my other series. So this, I had no idea what I was doing. The next series is called the Obsidian Spindle Saga, and the books are called The Sleeping Beauty, The Wicked Witch, The Fairy Queen, The Red Rider. Like, it's way more to market. Then I have a dragon series that's Dragon Scourge, Dragon Champion, Dragon Goddess. It's got dragon in it. So like, I learned, guys, you can learn and you can redo. But this series, I didn't. This is a mess, and I just launched it. So we've been recording since March, basically since right when we got down from the conference, and the first book went live yesterday, which is basically what the 6-figure author experiment is, a couple episodes behind, but like that's what we get into in all of the episodes.
Yeah, let's do questions, and we'll talk about your journey like as we answer the questions too.
Sure.
So first question, Amy Wolf, is it better to launch a book in September as opposed to August?
I think that completely depends on the platform. And frankly, somewhat depends on what else is launching on that platform at the same time. I use
Kickstarter, Russell. I'm sorry.
Cool.
Oh, that's totally different. Yeah. I'm glad you asked. I was going to go off on Amazon, but yeah.
Yeah. So, here's the thing with a launch strategy is, and this is what I coach, like I'm doing a thing with Lee. I coach all of the people that I'm like working with. If you are going to be number one, if you're going to be like the number one thing, it is best to launch when the most competition is happening. If you are not going to be at the top or near the top, you are going to get drowned out probably. So it is better to do it when there is less competition. So for our book, when we did Death's Kiss with SK Prince earlier this year, I was like, we need to launch it in March because this is going to be like, it was sexy romance. It was like paranormal romance. Like it was like drawn by a very popular artist. Like we need to launch this in March at the top when the competition is highest. But like, I'm gonna launch my next book is called Bolton's at the End of the Earth, at the End of the World, which is a short story collection set in the Godsverse. It is very weird because it's like this. There's a short story collection, but there's actually an overarching story about this woman who finds this old abandoned radio station and starts broadcasting stories, and they're my stories that exist in the world. Anyway, it's very, very weird. And like, I'm not going to launch that. I'm like, either I'm going to launch that like right at the end of August, or I'm like going to just know that it's not going to hit everywhere. You also depends on when in the month you launch. Like I would definitely not launch the first week of the month, the first Tuesday of the month for sure. I would probably launch the second or fourth week of the month, because most people that are going to hit big like launch the first week. If you're not going to launch the first week, you want to avoid that, and everyone launches the middle of the month. So you want to at least think of like the off weeks when there's not going to be 10. There are some weeks that I will just 10, 15 emails from Kickstarter will come in within a 2-hour time frame, and like you're not going to compete with that. So I would say, like I said, like if you are at the top of the market, or you think you're going to be at the top of the market, more competition better. If you think you're going to be middle or lower end of the market, probably more competition is not as good. That does also depend on the category, though. I would say probably the end of August would be better than September.
So on retailers, September is also, it can be a challenge just because a lot of college classes are starting up again. And so those books tend to rank better on the print side, at least. It shouldn't really be a competition with a fiction book, but a lot of the emails and stuff that are going on Amazon are going to be focused more on those.
Yeah, and I will also say that like you are messing with end of like people are going back to school. The last thing they want is like your book on top of it. So just like it's hard to launch a Kickstarter in July also because like everyone's on vacation. So like they don't want to like do a thing. So like June and September are better. I used to not believe this, but I do believe it now. Like, there's not a bad or good time to launch on Kickstarter. It's just like whether you are prepared for what you're going to get. Like, I know people who've done 100,000 plus K launches on Kickstarter in December, but like they had an audience and like they were the top number of that. So like they got everything in December because like it was Sexy Time Comics. And like in December, like nobody else was doing that. So they basically got everything.
I saw an article in 2020 because all these trad books were like, we're not going to publish, which was dumb because everyone was home reading. But anyway, they all waited until that September of 2020. And I read an article that was freaking out like, oh my God, 3,000 trad books are going to get published on one day in September 5th or something. And I sent that to Nick Erickson. And he's like, dude, indie authors, like, there are 3,000 books published every single day in the indie space. Like, that is nothing. And it just made me realize like, oh, right. Like, we're not competing the same way. And I do think of January as being a good time to launch, and May, if you're trying to go for the USA Today, which you can't anymore. But, you know, when you did list runs, those were good months. Even July was a good month because less trads were publishing. They kind of hold it for that October, like, let's spend for Christmas. But now they can't do that because printers are backed up. So now everybody's effed, and I have no idea. But just to let you know, like on Amazon, it's going to be like 50,000 books being published every day. So don't worry about it. If you're ready, if you got your ducks in a row, I like to at least do a sale December 26th because people have gift card money. But that's weird, and I don't have proof about it. I just am like, that's a great time to send a bunch of emails. Like, I gave you some Christmas freebies, and now I have like a bunch of sales on these box sets. So stay home and on vacation and read with your Kindle bucks. But
I'm launching book 9 in that week, I decided.
Yeah, perfect.
So
yeah, and it's a good time. Like, you can find people at home on vacation. But again, that's just very generalized, and US is going to be different than Spain. And I think that the answer is you can always launch a book. Like, you can always relaunch it. So Alicia's asked, how much launching do I need to do for a first book in this new series, or do I wait till I have more books?
Oh yeah, so
always relaunch it.
It really. So this is what I thought this first book was going to be like a huge, like we were going to do. I came in with all the plans. Like, you listen to the first episodes of this show, I had like, I was going to do all the newsletter stuff and swaps, and like that slowly got cut out as mainly Monica actually was the person has been just drilling into my head that like it does not matter what you rank wide. Like length, it's like almost the opposite of like length on platform matters more than like rank on retailers. And I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that, but like I ended up doing nothing basically except send a couple emails, and I booked a couple of like BookBub pre-orders, and then I booked a couple of written word media, like their Amazon and their Facebook ads package.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of factors that go into not pushing book 1 very hard in any series. The main one is you just don't really have enough to follow up. I guess, but you put up your pre-orders, right? So people could do like a full pre-order of, the whole series. So that's good. I mean, I think the biggest thing is like a lot of the promo on wide retailers is you need a book to either discount or put free, right? That's kind of the main thing. And a lot of the CPC stuff doesn't work as well. So not like if you only have one book, not doing that is probably
Right.
You probably need to have a couple books out. But I also think like I'm a big fan of Elena Johnson's stuff, and she's like, I only launch book 2 and book 5 hard. I'm
That's
like,
what I
well,
was gonna say.
that's really brilliant of you, Elena Johnson. So
Yeah. Well,
smart person.
it's not only that the retailers you want something disc, it's like when you go look at a lot of these like newsletter sites, it's like they're basically like, is it 99 cents? Is it free? And if you don't have one of those options, either you can't book at all, or like your thing's not going to be effective. So it's very hard to do that. I would say one of the strategies, actually, Amy, I think you should use if you do Kickstarter. What we have found talking to people is like put your book on Amazon and retailers when your Kickstarter's live, but like set the pre-order for like a year out, because people are going to have the spillover effect. And this is something that I think that I would love for you to talk about, Lee, because it's something that's fascinating. And we hear about it all the time, and I'll bet no one else in this call has heard about it. The spillover
So
effect.
the spillover effect, we found that when we ran ads to the direct store last year, which was our biggest year, like setting it up, getting it all together, we spent about 130,000 on ads to the direct store, and we made over 200,000. Not a massive profit on the direct store, but we made 7 figures when you count in Amazon, mostly Amazon, Apple Books, Kobo, everywhere else. So we found that we would start an ad to a book on the direct store, and we would see a corresponding bump on Amazon very drastically. And that spillover effect was our profit. So what you just said, Russell, about when you have your Kickstarter going, I love like market once and profit in as many areas as possible. So back to Alicia's question, I was going to say, can you get that pre-order up for book 2?
Yeah.
And I'm a fan of testing your cover and your blurb. Think of launching as you're growing a muscle. And maybe you're going to start by lifting 10 pounds and eventually you're going to get up to 100 pounds. So start where you can. But $10 a day, if it's a book, will it take that Amazon or that Facebook ad spend? Can you test your cover? Can you test your book description and build that skill like a muscle? Some of the way to make sure that you profit on this is you have a book 2 pre-order up. And again, you can see a spillover effect. Every dollar I spend, I can get some sales on book 1, but then I'm also getting a couple of sales on book 2. And that's going to be a nice profit center for me. That's free money.
Yeah. A lot of people don't, they're like, I can't put a pre-order up for like, they have a lot of like fear about pre-order, but like and changing, like Amazon only cares if you push a pre-order. They don't care if you pull a pre-order. Like they want money, so like they want you to like pull it forward as fast as possible. And so that was a really interesting thing that I learned as well during this process. I would say we have an episode, I think it's episode 6, which is about self-liquidating offers, that talks about that. And I think we haven't put our interview with Steve Piper up yet, but he talks about like the exact process he uses for click testing, which is like one that you should think about doing that goes into all of this.
Yeah. So Ava Mason asks, how do you do your first in series launch when you don't have any other books in the series as a sell-through? And I'm saying, put up that pre-order for book 2 a year out. I'd rather have it available for those automatic clicks, like, oh, I loved book 1. Let me just go ahead and buy this, than to miss out on those. Again, if your mental health is affected by pre-orders, don't do it. I get it. I have friends who are like, nope to the pre-orders. But if you can, it's worth it. Even if you think, oh, book 2 will be ready in a month and I'll probably publish it, 2 months from now. Again, you can pull it forward all the time.
Yeah. Well, you also talked about when we met last week, you talked about how you judge pre-order, like how much you're going to push the next launch on the pre-order numbers. And so like, do you want to like talk, because like, I think that was a really important factor of like, I specifically asked, like, you said, how to like ramp up ad spend, and you ramp up ad spend on a ridiculous level, like a level that I can't even like that boggles my mind how much you spend on like ads during that first month. But like, you were talking about how you judge when you can put more or less into a launch based on like pre-orders.
Yeah, I agree with the pre-order piece. I also think, I mean, the thing, it's probably been said on a different episode, but just with the direct sales store, it's like at least in nonfiction, it's expected that you break even, right? Like that's what the SLO offer, or that's what SLO is. So I think a lot of people, it's like you have to have that kind of upgrade or bump or spillover or something that is the actual profit. And I think that's often missing in that conversation, but
Yeah.
it makes sense.
And it's interesting when you talk to like a traditional publisher because they expect to lose their shirts on book one and then like they just are trying to get exposure in book one and then they're trying to like get people to notice that when book two goes on, they can find it and then they can like make their money on book three and beyond, which is like not a thing most indies can just like lose their shirt on doing that and getting all the good reviews and getting all the blurbs and such. But like I do think about like brand awareness campaigns, and we do a lot of Monica and I talk about this a lot of like, should we be running low cost, just like video view ads always, just like all day, every day for like $5 a day or $10 a day. And like just to get exposure out there, because at some point, people are going to either rely on themselves seeing it a bunch of times or somebody else saying that they had a good experience for buying your book. Monica, like you want to say something.
No, I'm interested to hear what Lee has to say about this, especially just like how you ramp up on that type of thing. And yeah, and really like, I mean, you've done a lot of brand awareness, it seems like, for advertising.
I think I only do, here's an offer. This is what I'm going to push. Did it make money? Great. I'm going to push it more. Oh, it made more money than everything else. I will write 20 books in this series. I do not advertise my entire catalog, guys. I don't advertise any of my catalog. I advertise like 2 things because I'd rather put 10 grand behind one book than $10 behind every book. Now, will I test it? Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I think I should, test this blurb, test this cover, let me see how it flies. But when I find the thing that actually takes the spend, that's what I mean by take the spend. It's like, oh, I spent 10 and I made money back. I made even $12 back, $15 or whatever. That's where I'm going to spend my time. I honestly don't have the bandwidth, even with all the people I've hired. And right now I have a guy running ads for the store and everything. Like he doesn't have time to test on the offers that aren't going to convert. Like he could test it a little bit, but once we figured out, well, it's kind of hard to reach people who are buying audio, like the audio buyers on Facebook. We haven't cracked that yet, but we can get people to buy ebooks. And maybe then I can use my email list to get them to buy the audiobooks. Great. Don't advertise the audiobook. Don't do it. We'll just do the ebooks all day long. And that's where the 7 figures came from.
Well, I also wanted to say that, like, I think it also is dependent on your ecosystem. So anyone who doesn't know about our author ecosystems, authorecosystem.substack.com, it's a whole thing. But I think if you are a grassland like Monica and you make your money by being like the expert in your field, or you are a forest who makes money because people just really like your weird, quirky point of view and like just like being around you and like get that positive energy about feeling seen. These kind of like, what if I just probably know who Emily Kimmelman is, but like she's a celebrity in like our circle because like we use her all the time. But Emily Kimmelman is a thriller author whose big tagline is the bad guys die but the dog doesn't, or the dog doesn't die but the bad guys do. And a lot of her like messaging is just like videos where she talks about her philosophy on life and her philosophy on writing and her philosophy on like justice, and just like they're not really about the books at all, but like you leave these videos being like, man, I want to read her book. And I think that if you are one of those two types, probably I'm going to just make a bunch of videos and ramble about my work for a while would be more effective for you than maybe a Tundra who should selectively do that maybe during a launch. But I don't know. What do you think, Monica? It seems like you have a lot of thoughts on this.
Yeah, no, I don't know if I have I mean, yes, I think that, I think it really depends on like, yeah, like your brand awareness is, those ads are going to work well for you if it, if it is like very personality based, like Emily, or I guess like a Forest, she talks a lot about her themes, and her books are about vigilante justice. So she talks about vigilante justice, and like somehow that together, makes it gets a lot of engagement, and then those two things together they sell her books. Yeah, and I think that the one-click offer stuff is probably going to work best for people who have like really stacked their tropes, would be kind of my guess around that. A lot of our audience they have books that they haven't stacked their tropes, where like I think romance, if you're succeeding in romance, like you've stacked your tropes. Like there's no way, like, because the competition is just, if you didn't stack your tropes, then like somebody who stacked their tropes is getting all of your readership. Where like if you look at like fantasy or sci-fi or horror, some of that stuff is like much more personality based, especially horror. I see personality based marketing work really well in horror right now, and I think it's because it's a pretty tight-knit community of authors.
So Cameron asks tips for launching a new subgenres under the same pen name.
I'd love to hear what you think about this, Lee, because I don't have any pen names.
So I have different subgenres in romance, and I just brand very tightly to the series. So the sci-fi romance is going to have a very sci-fi romancy looking cover, and the dark romance will have dark romancy looking covers. And again, the ones where I've stacked the tropes and the most marketable ones is where I spend the money. So it's okay. Like if something doesn't take off or doesn't fly, I'm like, moving on. Like, okay, I wrote that. It's fine. Make sure it's in a series, and I spend the time launching the ones that are just gonna be worth the most time, and everything else I can push with email. So my email list is pretty potent because I'm like, oh yeah, that series over there. Book 1 is free right now, free Booksy, and I'll email about it. And then I forget I've done it, and I look in, I'm like, wait, what? Why is that random book getting more sales? Oh, right, I sent that email. And it's, in that random series that I never advertised, never bothered to do ads on, because it's like, I can't. It's a hodgepodge of series. So anyway, launching the new subgenres, like it's all about that book 1. Can you stack the tropes on that book 1? Like if you can just get book 1 as tight to your genre or subgenre as possible, then you can wander off into the forest for the rest of the series and they'll go with you. But yeah.
That was literally what I learned from doing this series. It's like book 5 is too weird. I have to unspool the weirdness over time. I think about the Dresden Files. Like book 1 is like, I'm just gonna say it's pretty boring. It's a pretty boring, like by the numbers urban fantasy. And then by book like 7 or 8, he's like riding a dinosaur downtown. And you're like, well, so too, a lot of people are like riding their dinosaur downtown in book 1. And like, you just like haven't spent enough time, or whatever your subgenres. Maybe you're riding the dinosaur in a bedroom, or like somewhere else, depending on your genre. I don't know. I want to, Monica, do you want to take the author ecosystem part about this, about deserts versus forests, or should I? Okay, so here's what we have found about pen names. For Ali, where like she is a forest, so a lot of her themes are consistent across all of her series. And as a person who has read many of her series, like in the recent past, like they are very thematically consistent. So like the brand identity that is Lee Savino across all of her series is like, you're going to get a very similar, and I'm not talking about like, oh, they're all wolf shifters. It's like the themes and the core brand, the person who's going to enjoy that series across 1, 2, 3 is going to like all of them. So that's very foresty. And if you are a forest, like you could go like if Lee wrote a psychological thriller today, I would read it for sure. I would, because like I like all of the other stuff, and like I'm less into the sexy time thing. So I would be only more excited if she wrote a psychological thriller or a fantasy or like whatever. Because a forest is about seeing themes in like, and in the world, their theme in the world of being like, I see this in fantasy, I see this in romance, I see this here. But they're like kind of telling the same story over and over again. If you're a desert, however, you are creating a brand new identity, brand identity and reader identity with each series. If you are a person who like is more deserty, where like your 10 genres that you write in and all of them are like very, very different themes and tropes and things that like they all feel different, you should absolutely not launch. You should absolutely launch a new pen name for each one you have a different brand identity for, not necessarily like by genre or subgenre, but like if you're thinking about, oh, this is going to have a very different feel. Like if you write a wolf shifter series that's about like pack dynamics where like everyone's like hunky dory, like my friend Corinne does, and then you write another wolf shifter book that's like an alpha hole book, those people that wrote the first series book are going to slaughter you. They're going to slaughter you in the next series because it's a different brand identity. It's like a sub-genre of the first one, but like not the same reader profile. So I would maintain a different pen name for every reader profile that you have if you are a desert, whereas I mean, Lee and I are very foresty, so I'm just like, I throw whatever. Like, if you look back here, like, I did a steamy romance comic, and then I also have like a kid's book and the same thing. Like, it all goes together.
Yes, that sounds good. I mean, I think the one thing I'll say, Lee, about, what you've said about your advertising strategy, it kind of makes sense for a forest to like push your like tropey book or whatever. And then you're like, oh, and then when people like that, like they're on my email list, and then I just push them to all my other stuff and it works. And it's like, oh, well, I mean, it makes a lot of sense just because that's kind of what all the forests do that we know.
Right. It's what I do.
So Gwen asks, I've never launched a standalone before because I always write in series. Would you approach it any differently?
Yes, it's launched by Kickstarter.
Yeah.
First.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
I mean, a standalone is going to be they'll like have the least readership, and you're not going to have any go behind on. You're not going to have any real like way to make money if you're advertising. So you might have. I know when you have a very large following at this point, so you may be able to get away with it. But Kickstarter is about monetizing the most ardent fans, and usually your most ardent fans are the ones that are going to find you and find your standalone book and pay $50 when they could have paid $3 online. So like when it comes to standalones, I think Monica, the first time that she tells that she like started following me was because I did a standalone series that raised 10 grand. I have 4 standalone books, and it's not supposed to work. So I don't know if you guys have anything to add, but that is, I don't know about retailers, but I would for sure launch a standalone, any standalone that you want to launch, especially if it is like off brand for you, on Kickstarter first.
I think I know, Gwen. So I'm like, this is probably romance. It's just not in a series. So Sky Warren talks about, she treats sell-through as like, oh, this trilogy. So if I can profit on these, lose money on book 1, which is typically her perma-free book wide, and then make money through here. But it also, this duet is in the same world. So that is part of the sell-through. And then, oh, there's another trilogy. So that's part of the sell-through. And by the time she's done with like, oh, this is also a billionaire romance, she gets to like 10 books and she treats them all mentally as her sell-through. So I would just link to those books. And if it's romance and they're all alpha holes, if it's romance and they're all like, maybe it's not as tightly branded as a series as your others, but hot dominant shifter. So here's the other place I want you to go in the back matter. And I would just mentally treat that as your sell through and see if it works. Cause if you're spending money on that, and you test ads, $10 a day, and then you're like, well, it's doing well. So now we do $100 a day. And then I would slowly increase up from there, unless you are going. When I was doing USA Today runs, the reason I was going from $10 a day to 100 to 200 to 1,000 a day is because I had 5 days to spend whatever my budget was. We're kind of out of that right now. You can't do that typically with the USA Today anymore. So I would just slowly ramp up spend. $10. Did I make back money? Great. $20. Did I, can I add more ads to the ad set and then keep going up?
We talked to Nick about how like ads don't burn out as fast with direct also. So like if you do have a direct store, you may be able to like get more things. Gwen says I'm doing a different large Kickstarter on another series already, and like if you know nothing else about me, my brand consistency is you should launch every book on Kickstarter first, all of them, like small campaign, big campaign, middle campaign, whatever. Like my friend Matt Hawkins once said, "Why would I not do Kickstarter if a bunch of people want to give me a bunch of money and there's money there? It's like it may only be 15 grand, but like still made 15 grand. It's like an extra 15 grand that I would not have made anyway."
And I'm not going to do that. So
I know.
just not going to do it. But I like the way you think, maybe in the future. Hattie says, happy book birthday. What?
Yay. Thank you.
Rio, what was your best launch experience and what was your worst? And Russell, I think you covered that when you're like, and then I slowly slid into depression.
Yes. My best ones are the ones that I do the least and make the most. Like, so I don't know. That they're all, I'll have to think about it. I feel like my favorite launch was the Kickstarter, Get Your Book Selling on Kickstarter launch, because it was like so unexpected. I'd been waiting for validation about Kickstarter from the publishing community for like, I don't know, a decade. And like it suddenly all came, and I was like looking at the people who were, and I was like, oh my God, like, these people used to badmouth me about Kickstarter, and like, look, they bought my book, and like I feel like that was the most gratifying launch because it validated my existence.
It was an interesting launch too, because like literally 6 months before that, people were like, Russell's selling snake oil. Like somebody actually commented that. I don't know if you remember. I'm sure you do remember, Russell, because like who could like forget, someone just being like completely mean. And this person she's a bully. But like, yeah, and then like 6 months later, it was like, okay, there are people who are kind in this industry and who are interested in this topic. So yeah, I mean, kind of a side tangent, but
what was
Lee, what's your best launch and worst launch?
The current launch that I'm doing for this trilogy been disappointing. Like we spent a long time on this book because Renee wrote it, then I look at it, we had to fix some things, and we said, well, when we have to fix the pacing, really, why don't we just turn it into a trilogy? Because I was like, yeah, trilogy, because we're wide now, and then you can do book one perma-free, blah, blah, blah. But then we're like, oh, we'll launch it on the direct store, and that's a whole new sort of launch. And I guess, Monica, I need you calling me also and going, rank doesn't matter when you're wide. But I told my husband, I've said this a few times, like, we haven't launched this trilogy. Like, it has not felt like a launch because we were doing Kindle Unlimited launches, which is like spend for rank. And then we were doing the USA Today launches, which is spend for a well done sticker, which is dumb, but we did make money, so whatever. And now we're doing this on the store and the bundles are selling better. So I'm like, well, worst case, we add 3 books to a bundle, a bigger bundle, and we rebrand it and we sell a bundle, but it just feels kind of crappy. I feel like cussing a lot actually, because I'm like, I really wanted a big launch and I wanted this to do well. And Renee really was like, this book is so awesome. And it's, 150,000 words of content, and it's a trilogy. And Skye Warren talks about, her trilogies make the most money. And I'm like, where's the money? Where's the money? And part of that is I have different expectations for the books that I'm like, this should sell, than I do for like, oh yeah, that weird thing that I wrote and put in an anthology for free for the charity anthologies with Gwen, like, I don't care if that 10,000 word short book does anything. Like, I just don't care. So that's my worst launch. Big Bad Boss isn't my worst launch numbers wise, but it's disappointing. And I think managing disappointment is part of this. And I just want to be upfront about it. Like, my big launch this year has not gone well. It didn't do terribly. We did make money, but I wanted to do like multitudes of 6 figures on the store, and we are just not. And part of that was me going, well, so it turns out with a direct store, you don't put book one free. It will F up the pixel. The pixel will find you free people, and you want the paid people. We want the $50. The people will spend $50, and that's where the bundle ads are working. So all that to say, I'm learning. I would like to be spending $1,000 and making 5, and I'm just not. And so I'm like, and so that's my worst launch going. And then my best launch is on a book that I had released in my first book ever. It made $50 in that January. That's not the best launch. Then I pulled it down and was like, needs to be rewritten. And I couldn't rewrite it. So my friend Stasia did. And then we relaunched it, very tightly branded, because I had 5 years to think about branding on this. And we launched it, dark romance, and it made a buttload of money because Stasia is great with Kindle Unlimited. She understands, read through, sell through. So she's like, okay, we'll spend $100 a day, and then we'll just keep increasing it. And oh my God, she looks for read through. She's like, okay, page reads are coming in. So I don't care that I'm going to spend $1,000 a day and it only looks like it's making $200. Like, the reads are coming in. And all that to say, we spent about $100,000 on that trilogy, and we kept profiting on book 1. And we realized, okay, book 2 and 3 are pure profit. And we made over $500,000. And that was like, yes, because that was a dead book, unpublished, did not make a lot of money, very badly branded. And then I redid it and like had no expectations, right? It's like, yay, new life. I just love this book. And it turns out once I figured out branding, it was more tightly branded to the market. And I got a new blurb. It turns out when someone else writes your blurb and makes it very generic, it actually goes better than like making it very specific. But then the story is, Stasia knows how to like write page turners. So she fixed everything. And yeah. And today we are relaunching it. We pulled down the anthology, meaning the 3 books in 1 box set. And she tested covers. I hated it, but it won the test. And now I love it because it is returning. She's like, we're at 13% click-through rate, which is really good. And blah, blah, blah. She's doing all the ads. And I've treated this as a new launch. So Big Bad Boss sucked, but I think that, like Monica, you just said, longer, when you're wide, it's just a longer game. So I need to like advance my timeline, and maybe I need 5 years to think about branding for that. And then Hades and Persephone came out today, and I'm like, well, at least this will make money. And it turns out I'm relaunching this book every 5 years, and that's fine. I'll just do that. So those are my best and worst.
Yeah, I mean, Hades and Persephone is very, very hot. Like for the last 3 years, like everything about it is so hot. So it's cool that you had that in your backlist, and obviously like a pretty awesome partner that like redid it.
Yeah.
Like, that's like the dream, is somebody goes through all your back catalog and like fixes it all and then relaunches it to like millions of dollars.
Yeah, I lucked out.
It's amazing. Yeah, I think with wide, it does take a little bit longer because those readers are not into urgency at all. They're very much like, and like it helps to have relationships with with the retailers and just kind of get them to kind of keep pushing you. And then I think, the BookBubs too. And I don't know how you do with the BookBubs, Lee, how you guys have been getting BookBubs on the series that you're talking about. But I think like every BookBub kind of builds like with the BookBub audience, and same with like all the newsletters. Like it's like the newsletters are audiences on their own. So like if you keep doing like Fussy Librarian over and over again, more of those people convert every single time. And they've seen your book now several times. And so, it's really the same with all of it. It's like every single one is like its own newsletter almost. And so you just have to kind of keep either paying for access or like hammering that particular audience. But it spreads you thin, I think, too.
We got a BookBub on that book 1 today. I don't know how we did this. No, I'm like,
so we'll see how it goes after that.
Yeah. I don't think BookBub is doing that much. It's in, by the way, guys, dark romance and erotica BookBub category is typically easier to get into. Although they rejected this book for 2 years after taking it a ton. But then we got it and we were like, wait, that's our launch day for the new anthology. And I looked at rank though, because these are in Kindle Unlimited, and rank's kind of sucking. So I'm like, well, it's fine. Just keep moving though. Like, I'm like, great, I'll go back to Big Bad Boss and make that go. And I don't know how, but I'll figure it out. And maybe it's a new cover, maybe it's a discrete cover, but I just think we're in a world where there's just no mistakes. There's only movement forward. And the the way that I have failed is I looked on YouTube in like 2018 and I saw all my audiobooks were pirated and the audiobooks were expensive. And I was so angry that I sent all these takedown notices. And then I checked the next day. And of course, they were brand newly pirated, the same books. And I stopped producing audio, even though I could afford it. And I missed out on money because the audio wave was happening and we were getting paid for the codes. So at least I could have done it and gotten paid for the codes, which is, that's program's gone to. Anyway, all this to say, the ways that I failed is when I stop. I'm just like, nope. And at the same time, sometimes you put it on pause and then you go do something else. And then you realize, oh, wait, dark romance. It should have the guy on the cover, not the lady. Duh. And then you make it live again.
So I think it's important to just note for everyone who hasn't, who is a forest here, who's like, what does a forest do when they're really successful? Like, because the forests take a very long time to get going. A lot of times it's like, Just is like literally giving you the playbook of like what a forest does, like moving between series, rebranding series, rotating between stuff. Like that's like the forest thing. Like that's why like at the end of the day, like forests are probably like, if you can get to that level, like the most likely to be super successful, because now they're just like, I'm just going to relaunch this forever. I now have 20 books in 4 different categories. And like, look at all these main series. It's like, once you get there, and one of the things that Monica and I are talking about is just like, oh, we have 40 nonfiction books. Like I've got like 30 fiction. Like, it's like, theoretically, like we should just like run the forest playbook, because like, we have all of the books forever that we would ever need to do, like whether it's new editions or new things or like translations. And like, I think the Vanessa Vale's box strategy is a very deserty strategy, but it's also a super foresty strategy, because it's just about like checking boxes, being like, cool. And I know a lot of people, I don't know, Lee, what your breakdown is, but a lot of people, I think maybe even you said, it's like, you said something like, I became a 7-figure author when I started doing translations, because like now it's like it's like, I know the book works, I know the thing works, I just like put a thing, and like now it's all getting together, right?
Yeah, I went back and said, why did you stop doing audio? Invest in audio. So I did the audio, reinvested what the books were making into audio. And then I was like, well, German, my friend did it. She said, it's great. Let me try 5. Oh my gosh, I just made the money back in 10 days. Okay, everything's getting done in German. Okay, make the money back. And then French, Spanish, and Italian. Not all of those have earned out. But I feel like when the market shifts and like, oh my God, Italians love sci-fi romance. They do not love it right now. Those have not earned out. But when they do, when they're like, oh my God, Ruby Dixon, I'm ready. Like I have those books there. And Vanessa Vale is brilliant. She taught me that. I watched her basically like publish a lot, publish wide, and then just make sure she has everything in large print. She has everything in paperback, probably in hardback. I don't know if she has discreets up, but like those are probably coming, and that would be another category. And then you just, okay, as many books as possible, but start with the ones that sell the most. Start with the top.
Yes. So it is important to note, like, these are successful book series that we're talking about that like have made, like, your first book, like you should not like make probably 30 translations of. Probably should wait until you can test out the market.
Yeah, wait until it earns the money and then reinvest that money into ads and audio, and make sure your paperback's up,
Sure.
And then, okay, this did make money back. Okay, what's next?
Yeah. All right. How about a rebrand launch? I feel like we've talked a lot about a rebrand launch, but it says I wrote my book and added 20,000 words. What do you recommend for an unpublished and republished launch strategy?
Yeah. And so Gwen says she had just changed the names so she could keep the reviews, which is one way to do it, and then call it a second edition. That's smart. Yeah. So you can pull it down and lose your reviews, which if you have under 100 reviews, like don't worry about it. Just pull it down and relaunch. It just really, can you test your ads and your blurb? For such small amount of money, you can see what people click on. And we're talking like, oh, double the people click on this cover. And that's a lot more clicks. And your money will go that much further. Relaunching it, talking about it, all the effort you do is gonna rely on that packaging. And everyone on this call has done packaging really, really poorly. It's not a skill you come out of the womb with. You just learn it. And the packaging stuff changes. Like one of the reasons I'm a bit behind is discrete covers are super in. And I have an older readership that's like, nope, man chest only. And I need to make sure I get all those discretes done too.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you said something in there that I want to just highlight, which is like, we're all very good at branding, and like that's really not the issue that we're talking about. It's like, what does Sky talks about this, like what does the audience actually want? Like I think you talked about this in your last episode. You brought up all of the covers, and you're like, this is not the one that this is not the one I like best, but it's like the one that won testing, and I would have never thought that that was the thing. So like sometimes it's not even like, what are you like am I good or bad at branding? It's like the audience 5 years ago would have wanted man chest, and now it wants a very, very, very scary looking cover, I think, if I'm remembering it correctly. Like
I
not
just popped it in the chat. Yep.
Yeah.
Skull cover.
Yeah, like
But that's going to get a younger readership.
They're fabulous. Okay, Lee. Fabulous.
I mean, I think the thing that like I learned the most in this is just, it doesn't matter what I want. If my goal is the maximum amount of people to read this book, then like none of the packaging stuff I care about matters. It just doesn't matter at all. Like what matters to get read is like what people will read, and what people will read is what looks like the thing they just read.
I think too, it's like it's wanting to reach readers more than wanting to like imprint your own personal taste and style onto the thing.
Yes.
Plus you can do that. You can do it on Kickstarter or on your direct sales store or whatever. Like you can do both. That's kind of the nice thing about this environment right now. Yeah, what readers want matters. I do love that cover. I'm just gonna say, I hate you for 71. Yeah, that one's really cool.
As a pomegranate. The other one is a skull cover. It's like he's in a skull mask or whatever.
Yeah, like a candy skull mask. Like I think it's very interesting, but like
I'm not into the other cover, but I'm not Gen Z. Just like I'm not as into it. Let me say that. The Hades and Persephone, though, I mean, it's very like Twilight-y almost. And I think you're gonna hit the millennial moms. Like,
so we did both.
Calling myself out.
We did both. And if we do a Kickstarter or a comment or something, we'll do different. We'll do other ones. And it turns out you can have multiple covers. And over the course of your book's lifetime, you probably will have multiple covers. Right now, you can have them all at once. So why not? Just put this one up and call it the discrete paperback. I think we're going to get people who ask us for the skull paperback. They're like, wait, you only have the skull in ebook? I want it in paperback. And we'll be like, fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a partially mathematical formula also. It's like if 100 people buy your book, probably shouldn't have 78 different covers and like 48 translations. But if like 10,000 people are going to buy your book, or even 1,000 people are going to buy your book, like probably makes sense to do more like variants. But I think anyone can test there's a post that Sky had like several years ago, which blew my mind, which is like, you would just test the color of like the copy. And she like did this, I don't know if anyone remembers this email, but it was like, she just like had the same image, but it was like 3 different colors. And it's like, you wouldn't think there'd be a huge change, but like one of them was like double or 4 times more, just changing the color. Or maybe it was not just the color, maybe it was the font, but it was the same image. And like one thing had like 2 to 4 times the amount of clicks. And like, I don't know, this year, I used to call this year the year of the desert. I think it's the year of me getting over myself, and like that like what I want matters. Like as long as what I want is the most amount of people reading the book who will love it, it's like there's a whole nother level of like thing, which I see in a lot of a lot of especially desert authors. But it's just like, well, I don't know. I want people to read the book. So like, what do the other things really matter? Like what's on the cover? Like, I mean, go look at all of the Lord of the Rings covers in the years. Go pick your favorite one. I don't know. There's like 100 of them. And it's a lot harder when you're doing like 11 covers to have variants, but like I probably, were I to do this again, I would have asked the cover designer for like 3 or 4 treatments and then followed Steve Piper's like click testing thing to at least say like which is the best one. But like I still, my instinct is like, I like that one, go with that one. This series is also very hard because there's no one protagonist, there's no one planet, there's no one like universe that these people are all exist in. Like there's no one time period. So like we thought that the covers that we ended up with were portal covers where like each one is a portal to a thing. And it's like, if I thought there were more options, I probably would have tested more, but it's just like when you have like across 11 books, 7 protagonists, and like 3 of them are team up books, and like they all just don't. I was like, these are going to start looking like reverse harem covers because like it's what is happening here. There's like all these different things happening. So like we decided like there's not even a person in the middle, it's just like a piece of architecture is in the middle, which is like probably not the ideal thing to put in a fantasy cover, but when you looked at all 11 books, like it was the only way to get the branding to feel like Portal Fantasy without like, and like that it could be consistent. So like there's things in hell, there's like Broken Down City one, there's like
I
all
like
these,
it.
there's all
I think
these
those covers are very cool. And the titles are really I hate how generic we have to be, but like you just get like mind-numbingly generic, and
right.
it actually is better because you get people in, and then the people who love the story stay.
Yeah, and like it used to be called the series used to be called and blank follow behind blanks. It was like and magic follow behind her and heaven follow behind them, and people were just like, can you just call it magic? Like this one's about time, just like call it time. And like, and now I know what it's about. And like maybe it was Monica that said it, or like maybe it was like Mastermind that I was in, but someone was just like, this is not working. Just like make it function, like get out of your own head and like call the first book magic, and like now you know it's a fantasy book and there's a portal on it, like it's probably about a magical portal to hell or something. And I was like, all right, I guess
you do what you want, and then you're like, wait, but I do want money, and then you do what you want that also makes money. You just put the Venn diagram. You're like, wait, how this is.
But this is like another thing that I've learned from working with so many forests and aquatics is like successful forests are like, this is my weird taste and this is the market taste. And it's like, how can I magnetize into the middle so that like the most marketable thing that I can do is the most marketable bit. Like they're never going to write like, this is every trope in the world that I'm going to stack all together, probably if left to their own devices. But like, there are things that you can give up that like will make your story more popular. Like if you are writing a cozy paranormal fantasy, you probably want to have the main character a witch. You probably want to make it a murder. You probably want them to either have a tea shop, a bake shop, or a coffee shop. Just like there's some things you can do that like aren't going to change. Like, does it matter if they work in like a museum or they work in a coffee shop at the end of the day? Maybe it does, but like the interactions will be 99% the same. Or maybe you will say, no, that is my non-negotiable. And my feeling is you should go in with your, like every decision you make is going to increase or decrease your total addressable market. And like, I'm not saying you should change what you're doing. I'm saying you should go in knowing that you're like horticultural horror set in 1430 London about like two parrots is not going to have a big market. Like, can it be Regency or can it be like a Victorian? Can it be a more popular historical period? Like, do the pigeons have to be pigeons? Can they be like, I don't know, but like there's all these things where, Highlander sells better than X and Y and Z, and like it sells worse than A, B, and C. So like at some point you have to say, no, they have to be Highlander werewolves, which is one of Lee series. Like that's a non-negotiable thing for like that series. And I think having read at least the first book of it, like, yeah, they have to be Highland. Like it does not make sense if they are not like on some level like a pack of nomads. It has to happen. And like so it has to happen in a certain time and place. But like there's probably other things that looking back in it, you're like, man, could I do this other thing?
Yeah, so the wolf shifters came first. We did set it in Tucson, which is kind of weird, like wolves in the desert, but whatever. And so but we didn't lead branding with it. It's set in Tucson. Haha, it's different. No, we led with their wolf shifters. It's a billionaire wolf shifter. Oh my God, what are we doing? And then we have the skunk shifter come 20 books in. Because by then it's like, I can do whatever I want. I have you, and I'm not going to market the skunk shifter book. The same. I'll do the weird marketing for that one. And I'll do the constant driving, like, buy this 20 book series. Here's an excerpt from book 1 to the book 1.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. For more, head on over to sixfigureauthorexperiment.com for archive access, resources, and more. We'll see you next time.